Hello, everybody. I hope everybody had a good week. Welcome to another episode of Through a Therapist's Eyes. I am Chris Gazdick, a mental health and substance abuse therapist. Got the book still out, Rediscovering Emotions and Becoming Your Best Self. So we welcome you to Through a Therapist's Eyes, the podcast, where you get personal insight in your car and in your own home. See the world through the lens of a therapist, but always be aware it's not the delivery of therapy services in any way. Help us out, grow the show. Hit that little star, give us a 5-star, maybe a 4-star, but not a 3-star or a 2-star, unless you feel so compelled. But seriously, it helps us out to grow the show, gets more contact on the websites that are your platforms. Apple lets you do some reviews. That really helps us out a lot. And then, as always, contact at throughatherapist'seyes.com. Thoughts, questions, ideas for shows, or if you want to be on the show. We've had some people recently being on the show, and we've covered some therapy questions that people have had, so that's always kind of fun. This is the human emotional experience, and we endeavor to figure this out together. This one is actually, I'm not going to lie to you guys, this is a little bit of a weirder show for me. In that, here in a little bit, you can see on the cameras for the YouTube when that comes out, which, by the way, we're hitting one a week now. It's going to be coming out. So by the time this is published, we're going to have 2 out. So that's kind of been fun to see. It's interesting because the first one, the background was way worse, man. I checked that out, Neil, and the background was so plain, and so we got some better looking stuff behind us to make it look a little better. So if you catch that first one, you'll see it look a little better soon. But those are coming out on YouTube, so check those out. Let's kind of get into this. As I said, you see on the cameras on the YouTube thing. That's my boy right there. His name is Aaron. He's my son, and his buddy Miguel. So we're gonna include them in on our topic tonight. Man, did you really think, Neil, we're going to change the title? Yeah, he says yes. He says definitely yes. So I'll belittle myself and put the title that I had that's going to be changed, evidently. High school graduation, college, my son, his friend, and COVID. So this is kind of a topic because, man, a lot of key people are taking their kids to college and, going through those major transitions. And I had talked to these guys about the show before, but I really wanted to kind of do this now because I literally had a conversation probably just about 3 or 4 days ago. And it was with my son, I got my son on my mind, with my buddy David, who was actually on our show. So if you remember, he came on and he was talking about his family. And interestingly enough, he had like 3 different sets of kids with 3 different women. And he was honest and really courageous in talking about his experiences. And he just had, so to review that from kind of my memory from long ago, when he was in the military, he had 2 kids with one woman that he admitted he was young and dumb and whatever. Then he had another child with another woman. It just didn't go very well. And then he spent a lot of years getting his stuff together and got married, and he's still married to her and had another 2 children with her. I want to say 2. But the cool thing is, the very last child that he has, he just had the experience. And I want you to go on a journey with me on this and get into the moment of what a lot of people, at least in the States here, and I don't know when colleges start across the world, but we just started college this year. And so David took his very last child on a long car ride, and he described to us what his experiences were, so that he's driving in the road 2, 3, 4 hours away. He gets there, he has all his little personal belongings for his son, and I guess they kind of get unpacked and they get kind of organized and whatnot. And it's that time, it's that time to leave. And they're like little buddies, and they do everything together. And it was kind of really cute because he was walking kind of away, and he did this sort of man growl, like a brr, to each other. And that's just kind of one of their greetings that they would do. And he was walking away, and he did that growl, and he kind of looked at his wife, and they're taking a few more steps, and his son did the same growl back to him. And it was a very poignant moment because David kind of pointed out, he's like, I heard sort of like a wounded wolf growl or like a painedness to it. And it was okay. And they went along their way, and they managed it, but it was that transition. And so this transition is going on all around the country, and this show is designed to kind of help people through that transition and kind of generally as well what happens after high school. And I got another little story on in much the same way, and it's my own. Because we all go back and remember what it was like when we went to college and had that experience of leaving home for the first time, which is recently we talked about empty nesting. Well, my own experience with this was going from, now I lived in Wheeling, West Virginia my whole life, and, had a divorced family, and so it was a single mom, and she was facilitating all this stuff. And I'll never forget the experience of driving down, same way as David just did, and all my little stuff was in the car, and I'm driving down there with my mom, and I barely remember the drive, but I remember, kind of getting to the dorm and, taking stuff out of the car, and we went up to the dorm room and kind of found where that was and put my stuff there. And then they had this big presentation, and all the students came into this big auditorium, and they gave us a little bit of I don't even know what they said, a little bit of an introduction. Here's college, here's your stuff, whatever. And then they were going to take us on a tour of the campus a little bit. But I walked out of there, and, my mom just kind of looked at me, and she was like, okay, well, goodbye. And I was like, whoa, what do you mean goodbye? Like, I guess I knew she was going to leave, but I was not prepared for that moment. And there was no growl for us or anything. It was like a hug, and she was gone. She was just gone. And it was in that, and I really don't even remember the rest of the day, but I remember what that felt like in the real poignant moment of like, this is happening, and it just happens. So we're here today to kind of deal with that a little bit, talk about what that's like, what you experience, and really kind of being prepared for that in kind of ways to cope. So, yeah, you didn't hear that story, did you, Aaron?
I did not.
That is a new story for you. What do you think about that?
I mean, it kind of has to happen at some point in another lifetime. So you just got to take it all in and go from what your parents learn and teach you and go from there.
And it's on.
And yeah.
And it's on.
It's when life starts.
It is when life starts in a lot of ways. Now, I'm going to promise the audience, I'm getting used to talk to these cameras too. That's kind of cool. I'm gonna be work real hard, man. I'm like not a dad right now. This is kind of trippy for me having my son here and his buddy, and we've talked in the house before you hung out with us and all. So I'm gonna try to be my normal person on this show and not have my dad pop out. So if I scold you in advance, I apologize.
Hey, it is okay. I promise.
We can handle that.
I think.
Miguel, I've never scolded him before in front of you.
Oh well,
maybe
once or twice, maybe once or twice, maybe.
It happens. It has to happen.
It's different at home. It's different.
It is definitely different at home. So listen, you guys have a incredibly unique experience for the listening audience. And by the way, you can share as much or as little. If there's something that I ask you that you don't want to answer, or you're uncomfortable with, definitely just let me know. Like, hey, I'm gonna go there. We'll move in a different direction. But I think, it's fair to say that both of these guys are graduates of the year 2020, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yep.
Thank you.
Right.
We made it.
Thank you.
I gotta say, I never even got a picture of the graduation. I didn't get to see the gown kind of stuff. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I've never put on a cap and gown and never will.
Nah,
You
I got my cap and gown. I still had mine, and I took pictures like at my grandfather's farm. But that's it though. That's the only time I ever wore it.
So these guys graduated in 2020, and of course the world, we're all still dealing with coronavirus and all the impacts that has. And I'll tell you, my boys being in, when coronavirus really first hit, I had a junior and a freshman as two sons.
You had a senior and a freshman.
No, you were a junior when it hit, and your brother was a freshman at the end of that year, if I'm correct. And then when your senior year started, it was in full gear, right?
No, it was the March of 2020. We were seniors, and that's when it hit. Because I remember it was March 13th. It was a random I'm pretty sure it was March 13th, a random Friday. We were told, hey, you're not going to go back to school for about a week. And it was actually one of my teachers that called me, and he said, hey, we're not going back to school. And he's like, call me in a few days, and I'll let you know what else I know. Because, they'll tell the teachers more than the students. And he called me. He's like, well, we'll probably be back in a week or so. I called him, and then like a couple days later, I was actually at your house. And when he called me, and he was saying, I was on the back porch, I remember, with Aaron, and he said, yeah, man, I don't think we're going back. And I was like, no, you're lying. He's like, no, what they're saying right now, we're not coming back. And we never went back.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe it was a week we were out, and then it got pushed to 2 weeks, and then like a month, and then just it was over.
Then it was definitely like
Yeah.
there was only going to be like a couple weeks left of school, and they're like, yeah, we're definitely not going back. But he had mentioned to me that we're probably not going to go back. They're taking it serious. So
I kind of felt Adam, my younger son, only had like a half a year of normal high school. So I guess
yeah, because my sister's his age. They're in the same grade, so
Yeah.
they only had that first semester of freshman year, and then what was it? January, February, March, 3 months of the second semester, pretty much,
Okay.
or 2.5, something like that. So that's crazy to me.
Well, it is.
That is crazy. 'Cause
yeah,
that-
I could have sworn that popped for your junior year, and then you had the time off. I guess I'm wrong, but you know the point of it is really well. I guess that's right. Yeah,
it's almost like a blur, anyways.
It
I mean,
really is, isn't
yeah,
it?
It is.
Isn't
Yeah.
it? Where I'm having a hard time recalling what year and how that worked.
Uh-huh.
It's been so long, and in the experience of what we've all experienced with this whole thing, and so you guys graduated right in the midst of just complete chaos, complete virtual
and
school
in a good
chaos.
time too, because if you think about it, we don't know when coronavirus is ever gonna end.
Right.
Yeah,
You
or
know,
when
so
everything will be completely back to normal.
if we take it to my brother, I mean, when you told me this, he's only been in high school for 3 months, and he's a rising junior in high school. He's technically still has an 8th grade mind, you know?
Exactly.
Because he's not developed in high school. He hasn't been in the classes. He hasn't done anything. He's in middle school still because he's only been in high school for 3 months when he's a
Or like
rising
a semester and a half. A semester
Exactly.
and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're referring to is a conversation where we had, and so to clue the audience in, this because in my work with teenagers, you got to understand what your kids are dealing with, and I'm glad you brought that up. So let's stay here for a minute for this segment, and just help parents understand what their kids are dealing with. And like I said, you guys have an amazing viewpoint of having lived through this. And so I guess I was right about Adam, but wrong about you guys. The progression that we're seeing kids go through in moving from high school to college is one thing. But then you have another very important progression of going from middle school to high school. It's a different world.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Completely different world. And so, we essentially have like a whole group of kids that my younger one is right in the middle of. Then we were talking about this at home. It sounds like you thought about that since. They barely had like 2 or 3 months of getting grounded and being high schoolers. And then you go to your entire sophomore year's blitz. There's nothing there. You're in virtual school. And now he's a junior and never having really been in knowing oneself in a high school environment. Like, I'm afraid he's still worried about having the right kind of shoes.
Oh, no, that's
You know what I
big
mean by
thing.
that?
That's a big thing,
Yeah.
though. Like, seriously, I could not imagine so much stuff happened between, like, if I put myself in his shoes and Corona hit and I only had that second semester of high school. Halfway through, Corona hit, and I'm a junior.
Right.
So much stuff happened from between that last
time
semester
period.
of freshman year to junior year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You don't
And
know
the
how to be a high
social,
schooler.
the social stuff too. That's crazy.
I
The-
know I don't have a mic.
All right, Neil, he's in the background.
My youngest was going from elementary to middle. My oldest went from junior or middle to high school.
Oh, really?
So they actually were transitioning.
Wow.
Right,
Wow.
right. Yeah, Neil's sharing. I don't know if you heard that off the mic, that what your youngest was going from elementary to middle, and then his oldest was going from middle to high school. So you've seen all of those transitions kind of being jacked up. Yeah. Yeah, and of course, we don't have college transitions in our own personal experience here, but this is the same thing that's happening with kids that I've been working with that have gone off to college, and their first year of college was in the coronavirus environment. And I can't tell you, so many of those kids got coronavirus-based withdrawals. Money back things and academic problems and just maladjustments. I mean, I think I have a spot in here later on where I'm going to make the statement, and I think that we've definitely learned it, that virtual school has not worked. It's not effective. The social and emotional realities that people are struggling with are very real and have been terribly destructive. And so, how do we cope with that? Yeah, you guys talked about it a little bit. What was the online version of all of this stuff? Like, how did you guys cope with, the schools, just being online? I mean, just
well the thing is, I remember they tried to make us do a little bit of online stuff when they said, "Hey, we're not gonna be back for a while." I remember they tried a little bit, and they wanted us to keep doing things online. And I know nobody did anything. Nobody did anything because they were never in person to tell us. And I think that was a big thing too. Like, nobody was there to say, "Hey, you have to get this done. Yet this assignment has to be done." Nobody was there. But I really do think that for the college kids, I don't want to. If you did go to campus, I really do not think it was too horribly bad. I mean, it was still bad because you probably had to stay in the dorms. There was only X amount of people you could be with and stuff. But I feel like the college kids that were going into
your friends, some of your friends,
some of my friends that graduated and went to college, I feel like they still had a good time. They still had a lot of social stuff, but they had to keep it a secret. And then it was, it's kind of dangerous, whatever, however
it is dangerous.
Yeah, especially when you're yeah. But especially when they're coming home.
Have you ever heard me say that before?
Yeah, oh yeah, I've heard that.
More than once.
That is why. That is why. Yeah, I mean, you're right. So they did have some fun and some of that transition and all. So you're saying there was some normality there, even
from what I've
pledging
heard,
fraternities. A little bit of the norms were
the normal college. Going right into college, because I went up a few times and I've kind of got to experience like going up to the big college and seeing how it is. And when it was during Corona, and it was weird, but a little bit weird. There wasn't as many people out, but people were still doing their thing.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? I'm remembering when this hit you guys, right? So it was, half of your year, 3/4 of your year, and then the whole next year was just the whole year was virtual. Mm-hmm. And basically no one did anything. There was a lot of non-learning going on. And so, I this is the section I kind of reminded myself with my notes here that I was going to rail on that a little bit. I mean, the virtual learning, I'm so glad that the powers to be have really kind of see the value in that. Masks or not, without masks or whatever we need to do. And I don't want to get too political with it because I know there's been it's, at least in our country, and I imagine really kind of around the whole world, it's been a major distinguishing factor. I think I can definitively say at this point, in seeing what I've seen with, and a lot of times, a lot of things you've heard about. I mean, anxieties are exploding. People's depression is exploding. People's loneliness is just tearing them apart. We haven't gotten a lot of the data from departments of social services and whatnot around the country, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to see very terribly and tragically, child abuse is going to be documented to have gone through the roof because domestic violence has gone up, substance abuse. I mean, all of these social and emotional realities have been really a price to pay. Yeah. And at least in the kids' world, school is so crucial in that face-to-face contact. Mm-hmm. And I even have a little bit of a concern with the masks because you don't get face-to-face contact. Now, Delta variant and all that's going on, I'll let the medical professionals tell you what they need to because I'm not one of those as far as from a, disease, what do they call them? The disease transfer specialist or whatever. But, I mean, it is socially and emotionally terribly devastating. Mm-hmm. And I think I can make that statement and have ground to stand on. So... yeah, okay, that was the controversial. I want to get off of that because I can rail on that for a long time.
Yeah, I was about to say,
I could have my own thoughts about that, but I'm sure
I do have one more thing I want to say though about that is I've heard multiple people say it was more in a joking way, but I really don't think it was completely a joke. They've said I don't even know how to talk to people anymore. It's been so long since I know I have my close 5 friends or so that I talk to on a regular basis, but when I see someone I haven't seen in a long time, I don't remember how. I haven't been in school. I don't talk to anybody except those, those little handful of people, and I think that's crazy.
It is, and thank you for that because y'all get picked on anyway by us adults, frankly. Social media, you don't know how to have conversations. You don't know how to talk face-to-face to people. You got to text and tweet and whatever, snap and post and whatever. And I find that people, you learn how to use technology and all that kind of stuff. But parents out there, listen to this, because, Miguel, you bring up a really important point there that, we forget as adults what it's like to be in a high school gymnasium or walking down the hallways. Now, you guys are about a year removed from all of that. Do you even remember a year now later
I do.
what it's like to be crammed in those hallways and people stacked on each other and just trying to get to your next class? It's kind of like, that's actually intimidating. Like, that will trigger anxieties with kids. Does that make sense or sound crazy?
Yeah, at one point, definitely at one point in high school, I used to get nervous before I'd go out in the hallways sometimes. I really would.
Yeah.
But as I got older and through those years of me being, freshman, sophomore, being in school, by the senior year, I was, head cocked all the way up, walking through the hall, just strutting. But it's,
Yeah, for myself, I remember being a freshman and seeing all the seniors walk
Oh my
and
gosh.
everything, and I would look up to them. I would look up, like, I want to be just like them, and
Absolutely.
I will one day. And then when that time came,
Being a senior.
yeah, and we still had it, but then yet again, Corona affected it, and we, as a senior, we didn't do half of the stuff that seniors usually do. Like, we didn't
Three-quarters of the stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
You lost it. It was taken.
yeah, it just didn't happen because of what's going on. So
Proms and just all sorts of
Oh
things.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Prom did get canceled.
It
We didn't
did,
have a
yeah.
prom.
The whole 9 yards.
And I never went. I didn't go my junior year, so I never got to see. I don't
Yeah.
even know what prom is like. I only have the stuff I've seen in movies and stuff like that. I don't know what a prom is like at all.
So sad. I mean, that is, and because those are very important developmental steps in how to get the date and dealing with the anxieties of asking the girl and all of those steps. So parents, when our kids are getting back into these schools, realize they're legitimately like anxious about it. Being cramped in with all those kids and all those, last year they weren't even moving around when they were in school. They were kind of mostly in their classrooms and all. So our youth are going through major adjustments all throughout the country, and I suspect all around the world, for real. So let's transition a little bit to thinking about, the losses that come. I mean, I know you especially were like, school is done, thank God. I mean, it's over.
yeah,
But then when it's over, there's a loss. There's losses that come.
there is.
Yeah.
And I watched as a parent some of the ways that losses hit you.
Yeah.
So what kind of losses did you experience when you just went through that several months ago? Can you tap into that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I can. I remember it wasn't as bad when it first hit. I was kind of enjoying being able to be out of school. It was my senior year. I was, having fun. I was working. We were, doing different jobs and stuff. But I think it was more of like 5 to 6 months after it hit and everybody went to college.
Yeah, I
Right.
can agree
That's
with
when
that.
that's definitely when it hit. Is when everybody went off to college because there wasn't no more summer. Nobody was at home in the town. Everybody was gone. That was definitely the hardest time for me.
It's a lonely place.
Yeah, it was very lonely. And
Yeah.
then I remember my car had broken down and I couldn't fix it for like 4 months, and I stayed at home for like 4 months out of that. And that was awful. That was so awful. But I mean, it's changed now. But there was definitely a point where I was like, man, I have no clue when this is going to change. And I was just sitting in my room, and that was bad. But it was more of, like I said, 5 to 6 months after Corona had hit.
Right.
See, I've always had like a job, so whenever I'm working, I don't really think of what's on my mind. I'm just doing my own thing. I'm at work. I'm doing what I need to be doing.
Head down, grinding.
Yeah. So, and then in my downtime, I was so tired. I mean, I just went to sleep and whatnot. So,
And then when people left and all.
yeah. So,
Because I know you went through some of that when it's like, all my friends have bailed. They're
So when
checked out.
people went to college, I mean, I was just like, yeah, I mean, that's when you really got to know and figure out yourself. You gotta, I don't even know, man. You just gotta go with the flow.
You definitely have to like, I don't want to say find yourself. I don't want to exactly say
Well,
that.
I want
but
to
you
point it
definitely
out. I
have
think
to-
I can help you by saying this is definitely a grief and loss experience. And the thing that we need to understand as kids are going to college, they're losing their familiarity. They're losing what they knew. They're losing friendships. They're losing relationships with their family. I mean, in a real way. And when grief events like this happen, so you need to help your kids out when, and they're working through it right now. David's son is working through it, and others that have gone to college, a grief and loss experience. And what I tell people that are trying to understand depression is that, a grief event is a lot like a depression event. It mimics it exactly. So you go through and experience all of these things, right? Your appetite kind of goes out. Your sleep gets disrupted. Miguel, when you're in your room, you might have experienced some of those things, where you might even get tearful and you don't know why. You start to feel stuck and alone, and it's a terrible time that's full of depression-like symptoms, like literally symptoms. And you have to kind of manage those feelings, as you say, and, kind of finding yourself and really soul-searching a little bit. Yeah. What am I going to do to kind of go with the flow? How is this going to work for me in the situation that I find myself in? And in college, you find new friends, and you kind of get a job, or maybe you work, and you recover and you get through it. But my point is, people need support from you, mom and dad, and from friends. Y'all supporting each other, probably even more than parents.
Yeah,
honestly.
that's for sure.
Very true.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me, and I'm really grateful for that. I do have, I have like a couple friends, like 2 or 3 that I talk to, on the regular, and they definitely like try to keep me in line and tell me that those
just
people
keep
I
the
talk to,
motivation going.
the motivation. We talk all the time, and we might not always we don't always see eye to eye. We don't have the same path, but for like in general, like the overall, like we all try to push each other.
And those conversations are really important. And nowadays we have the ways, with social media to connect with, people that have gone. I mean, one person's in this campus, the other's in this campus, the other's at the third campus, and the other one's, way out of state, another one's on the other side of the country, but you can actually have those connections, and they're valuable. To be honest, well, I didn't get permission to share that part. So we were trying to help David along, with his process as just people that knew him. So, but I'm going to leave that out. But just connect, talk, call, check in. That's important with each other. If you're listening on a college campus, and with your family a little bit of a word of caution. It's so hard as a parent. I know. You have got to let them work that out too. Like, I didn't stay all over your tail, and I kind of, if you realize, I kind of stepped back and was like, I know Aaron's going through this, and you've got to let them hurt.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Right. You cannot step in and save them, and parents do have a tendency to want to do that. So there's a balance here too. They've got to work it out. So another thing I want to kind of point out is this is a little bit of an extended grief experience too, because as you said, I think Miguel, it didn't really hit you. It's like, yay, everything's done. This is awesome. I'm done. I never had to be in school again. For high school's over forever. And 2 months roll on, and my buddies are here. We're hanging out. It's the summertime, and 3 months hits, and then that 4th month hits. It's like, wait, where'd you go?
Yeah.
Oh. And then another month, like, wait a minute, they're really like still gone. And there's like an extended period of time where this isn't like an event. It's a series of events. And it might be a lot of breakups. We're high school sweethearts, and you went to that campus, and I'm at this campus, and a couple months into college, well,
not working.
Yeah. So there's a whole period of time here where this is going on. So you gotta kind of keep that in mind. Let's transition to another section of this is the part y'all gonna love. What happens after high school life? Okay, high school's done. Maybe you grieved a little bit. Kind of like, now what?
Like a year, like right now?
Right now. What happens?
Well, this is gonna.
What are the thoughts? What are the feelings? How do you form new relationships? School's no longer there to have your friendships kind of built in for you. And there's a lot of these transitions and all. So what happens after high school or into college?
Well, at least for me, I know. At least for me, because I'm not in college now. So I think that from where I'm trying to go and what I'm trying to do, it's more of like I just need to do things to better myself.
Right.
Just stay on that and try and keep leveling up a little bit, like 1 inch at a time. Just trying to better myself. That's kind of how it is for me. Like,
They say the sky's the limit.
yeah, they do.
And that's,
Yeah.
land of opportunity, as they say, whatnot.
Yeah, I'll say so for myself. I mean, I'm trying to go do big things in this world, So, yeah, high school you're teaching me this, and that, but in reality, it's all by steps and climbing that ladder. And I mean, if you're making progress, that's a win in my book bag,
Yeah.
Because
Book bag, nicely done.
I mean,
Nicely done. Like how you threw that in there.
yeah. But I mean, you just have to go through steps and.
Oh, I just got it. I just got what he
That-
said.
yeah,
I
book
just
bag.
got it. Yeah.
Come along with us. Well, let me call this little segment here. We want to defeat the shame. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I mean by that. And here's where I want to credit. I was literally having this conversation today in my office with somebody, and I'm going to credit him as PBJ. Or I said that wrong. P&J, peanut butter and jelly. PJB, right? And we decided we wanted to look at, the concepts of defeating the shame. And our conversation was kind of helping and talking through this a little bit. The fact is, it is okay to have a different plan.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of college, okay? Quote unquote, we are not fed the idea of having a different plan, unquote, in college or in high school, looking towards what happens after high school. And he kind of said, right, to your point, Aaron, as you were saying, the whole, there's a big period of time where you're trying to figure yourself out. And I'm going to submit to you that many people, I see after their freshman year in college, they're trying to adjust. The amount of people that change their major is huge.
Yeah.
It constantly.
Yeah, I have so many friends right now in college that they're just going to college. They don't know what they're majoring in.
They have no idea what they want to do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of okay, particularly if you're just getting your core classes together and all.
Yeah, yeah.
But I hadn't planned this, but I want to throw in, well, let me just kind of throw it to you guys and kind of say, like, we want to defeat the shame a little bit with what is an alternative plan. Do you get a job? Do you go to work? Do you have to go to college? Like, there's a lot of pressure on kids. A lot of pressure. I hope we did a good job of not pressuring too hard. We want you to do good in school. It's an important piece. We want you to go to college. I'm still on you about, community college and getting some of that under your belt. It's important, but that's a lot of pressure on you, isn't it? Right? And there's a shameful feeling if I don't meet what the world says I'm supposed to do right now, right?
Yeah. I definitely, because I started going to college. I started doing the classes and everything, but it was online. We have to remember it was online because of the corona.
Right.
And I think I could have gone to some in class, but I had chosen to do all online. And about a month in, I knew this is not going to work. I'm not happy doing this. Every single morning I'm waking up and this is awful.
Yeah, speaking for myself, if I was ever learning virtual, I would not be able to learn.
Yeah.
I know you would.
I would not be able to learn.
I know.
You tell me one thing over a computer screen and say to tell you back, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really tough, isn't it? Because you don't have someone instructing.
Exactly. I got to see it, touch it, to be able to learn. Like for instance, I work at Mazda now, and we had to get a certification, and that includes for watching videos and learning all about the car and everything. That is not the way I learned and taught myself of how to sell a car and the material of a Mazda that you need to know. So when a customer asks you, hey, what's this do and what's this do or that does, that's just not the way I learned. So what I did was I went out there on my own and sat in 10 different cars and absolutely just studied what every feature does and everything. And that's how I learned. And I'm just more of I got to see it to.
Yeah.
Yeah, how would it be if
know
I showed you a video on a Toyota Corolla and said, okay, well, tell me the 10 points of this Corolla from this video that you just watched?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
and then
it's hard.
especially with virtual and everything, I guarantee you got assigned homework, and
You're gonna be on your
homework
computer
you're at
more.
home, you're doing alone, you have to read stuff and everything, and I can't comprehend. Like I'll tell you straight up. I mean, you tell me to read a paragraph on a sheet and then tell and then to comprehend it, I wouldn't be able to comprehend it.
Yeah, and somebody said, everyone has different skills. For some, that works really well. But the human piece and the human element is something I would suggest that we all really need. And so a lot of our college freshmen right now are going through this process. They're feeling like this is what I'm supposed to do, and I was told basically you're going. And I'm not trying to be critical of anybody who's trying to support their kid and encourage them to do that, because they need encouragement. They need kind of pushed and kicked. Sometimes it's a big smack kick in the butt, to get the heck out and get going, And so your kid, but the part that I want to kind of highlight is that young person, that young woman, that young man is really in this process of, I just went through this major transition, and now I've got to figure out what I'm doing with the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And you hit the party scene, and sometimes you just, kids get into really destructive coping mechanisms, and that's a lot of times what it is. It is emotionally coping. I know they're experimenting with partying and drinking, but a lot of times, and I see the washout, I see the aftermath, in my office oftentimes, and they're struggling with, who am I? What am I doing? How's this going to work? What is this transition? And I've failed. Now on top of all that, I've screwed up what I was told I was supposed to do. And there's a big recovery from that. I'm thinking of our neighbor. I don't know how much you know of him, but he went through some of that process. We don't need to talk about his particular circumstances, but
Yeah.
it is a regular and routine major adjustment. And oh, by the way, Mom and Dad, sorry, but you can't fix it. You have to be there when they fall down. And then you pick them back up, you dust them off, and you kind of let them go along again to figure it through. But be careful about the pressure that you're putting on. You wanted to go to medical school, and now you're in your freshman year in college, and you're not doing this, and you're not doing that. It's like, whoa, there's enough pressure already as it is, and we want to kind of go about how do we support, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But boy, yeah, there's a lot, right? There's a lot of different plans, and there's no simple perceived or prescribed modus of operandi that you have to go by.
Yeah.
Lots of options.
But the college route is definitely pushed more. It's definitely try to go to college, but I do see a lot of my friends, or I guess the friends I had in high school, the ones that are in college, a lot of them are, they're doing good, but then there are some that are partying a lot, and I don't think that's a problem. I think, you obviously need to experience that, but some of these people are really taking it overboard, and they're not caring about the school. Like, it's sad to see, because I know some of these people, like, I've had conversations with these people about what the future holds for what are you gonna do, like,
what's
after
life
college?
After college?
Yeah, what's happening?
Well, there you go. That's another interesting question. Yeah,
and that's gonna be I liked how you, like, what is life after college? They don't know. They haven't. I think some of them have not thought that far ahead, because it's gonna be a smack in the face once you can't go to. You're not going to be a 5th year, 6th year in college and still going to the parties and stuff. Like,
no.
What are you going to start doing, man? This is going to come to an end, and you're going so hard right now, but this is going to come to an end. It's going to slap you in the face. But
now
I can't tell these people that.
Some of it is how you experience it and how you're going along. I don't have a lot of time to go into it. I think I'll just mention it. I believe in an activity. I've done it in therapy offices before, and maybe you suggest it to your children as a part of kind of thinking about that. I believe in getting a piece of paper out. I don't know if you remember me kind of telling you this before, Aaron, or not, but I'm sure I suggested it at some point. You get it, I'm a pen and paper guy. You get a piece of paper out, literally a piece of paper. It's
Always
real.
and always.
Yeah. Stop. I know, right? I do some technology. I'm all right.
You're learning.
I'm learning.
You're learning.
Neil, now Neil's losing it in the background. I do all right, people. The tangible, hold it in your hand plan. You get a piece of paper out. It's a 1, 5, and 10-year plan. A lot of professionals would disagree with me. I've heard people say, oh, you can't think 10 years. No, I still think you want to have that kind of long scale. The human emotional experience hasn't changed much in the last 50 years. Our society has, much more fast-paced. But listen, 1-year plan written on the first side of the page. And there's a lot of details between now and a year from now. What do you want to accomplish? Turn the page over, 3/4 or 2/3 of the page is your 5-year plan. What between now and 5 years do you want to accomplish? And then the last little section there is 10 years from now. It's just a very broad stroke of what you really envision. Sometimes
I like that, yeah.
What state you're going to live in. Sometimes that's, do I plan on being married? You know, what are you, 20 now, right? When I'm 30 years old, am I already married? Do I already have kids or not? It's a very small section. But when you do that, you kind of line your life up in what it is. That's my point and purpose. I said I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on that, but I guess I did, because it's important. And when you're just blindly going at it and you're not thoughtful about that, you just run in different directions. And then you look back, well, it's been 15 years, and what happened?
Yeah.
Like, literally.
You definitely have to have somewhat of a plan, or just goals. You have to have goals, like you said. Like, what do you want by the end of this? Like, what's the goal for the end of this month? Or like you said, the year.
Short term and long term.
Yeah, short term and long term goals. That's where
short term and long term.
That's how you can get places. If you have a hard time, I feel like if you have a hard time, I don't want to, maybe getting up in the morning and going to do what you need to do. If you have a goal and you're like, all right, I need to hit this by the end of the year, then it's a huge difference.
And you know, it's another big piece of, you know, part of this is, you know, how do you cope? You know, kids that are adjusting to school, kids that are adjusting to these transitions, small goals. I'm talking about what do I just need to do today? What's the one thing I need to do?
I set daily goals.
Yeah, you did. You're right. Yeah. You're right. And you set. I thought you said you said daily goals.
No, I set daily goals for myself.
How so?
Sell a car today. If I don't, then I'm pissed.
He about made me swallow my drink. I can attest to the fact that he's pissed when it doesn't happen. But you manage it, and you get to the next day, and you said, and honestly, sometimes it's just, let me learn a new component to this car. Let me just get this chapter read in the book, because people are stressed the heck out right now, and breaking things down into small pieces is a primary management tool. Can I say that? Right? Breaking things down into small pieces is a primary management tool when you are stressed out and all. Let me make another point about social media. Now, longer term listeners of the show, you know, we've talked about social media before. All the technology you guys have grown up with. We had a guy, Adrian, was on our show, and he talked about technology anxiety, and he made a point that I've requoted him many times over. He's like, technology is neither good nor bad. It just creates a whole lot more choices for us, right? And y'all don't know. I mean, I've got you by a few years. When I was growing up, right, we didn't have near as many choices as you have. And technology has opened up so many different things. Like, literally, the TV had like 20 channels. Yes, I go back that far. You know, when we upgraded to 40 and some cable line, it was like, whoa, inundation of all these channels. And now it doesn't take but, you know, a half hour to flip through the amount of channels that we have. Like, there's so many choices that you have, and that creates anxiety. So in much the same way that we've talked about on our show before with that, you have so many choices of careers and jobs and directions. And like, holy crap, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Right? I see the breath. It's like, yeah. But again, you have to work that out. I can't work that out for you. Nobody else can tell you. You can begin to make choices, which is why make good choices, right?
Yeah.
Make good choices.
Make good choices.
Or have more good choices than bad choices.
At least.
At least.
At least that's the goal. One more good than bad. Okay, let's get over to what do I do as a parent? Okay, we recently talked about empty nesting, episode 147. If you're listening to this one, you'll definitely want to listen to that one because, you know, there's a lot that goes in, and we took a deep dive on, you know, so your kids left the home. What do we do now? So empty nesting is a huge adjustment for parents. Now, see, now this is the point where you guys get to see the other end, the other side of it. part that
I'm ready to listen.
the part that you don't experience yet, right? So kids need to understand that the parent is struggling to a large extent as well. Kids just don't understand. Mom and dad out there, they're going through the change, but you're going through the change as well, and they just don't have a clue that that's the case. Like, I haven't had a child leave the home yet, and so I that's going to be a weird day. I'll tell you now that we're having this conversation, interestingly, that'll be a different component of our experience of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that is, I'm telling you, like, that is a huge transition and point of sadness that the parent goes through. So how do you cope with that? Sometimes you can't be prepared for what you're experiencing, but you want to be aware that this is going to be a shock to your system as a parent when you're dealing with that. And so how do you cope with that? I think one of the things I'd like to highlight is, and we talked about it with the empty nesting, don't be alone. I don't know why we separate ourselves out and isolate ourselves when we're going through a transition. I'm super proud of our mastermind friend, David, who said, I'm going through this. Actually, another mastermind friend was going through this same year as well. I'm not going to mention his name because he didn't give me permission to, but they came on and they talked to us about it. They told us what they were experiencing. They shared with us how the day went and told us their story. I got the grunt story. That's why I got the grunting story. So, but unfortunately, a lot of times parents just don't share that with other people, and then ultimately you're kind of alone. Let me kind of pop you guys a question. How do you? So you guys didn't transition to college, but what are you looking for from your parents now? I'm curious about that.
Honestly,
Now,
I want to say no. I almost want to say I'm not looking for anything really. I'm not.
If anything, I'm thankful for
I'm just
everything.
thankful.
I mean, I'm about to be 20 years old now. If anything, I'm very thankful because if it wasn't for my parents, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be living in their household. I wouldn't be doing, I don't know. I'm just thankful.
Wow. Yeah.
And blessed.
Yeah.
That's.
But I don't really expect anything. I sometimes expect dinner, but I don't get that all the time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, dinner's a must.
yeah. But no, I don't feel like I expect them to do anything other than, if I need to talk to someone, maybe you can talk to me. But I usually, for me, I go to my friends before I go to my parents most of the time I really do.
Well, and expect, I shouldn't have chosen the word expect. I think I want to change that to hope for.
Another thing too is, if anything, I owe them. I owe my parents something because look what they've done for me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know?
You're on camera, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, Neil, did you hear that?
You were on camera.
You heard that, right? That's cool. Now, you know what? I'm personally enjoying that. And it's super rewarding, and you're welcome, by the way. I mean, you are more than welcome. And I think that's something that parents are going through with these transitions to college. You do get a lot of that. I mean, the energy that you pour for, 20 years now. And you have those moments, and thank you so much for that. I mean, I'm left a bit speechless. But what's cool is, the audience gets to hear. You get those moments as the kids mature, they're growing, and they will look back and appreciate, all that you went through high school and all the taxi rides and all the fights and the turmoil that you have. Like there's a coming around, and now they went to college, so they're not still here, and it may be a couple more years and all, but they definitely come back around, and then you move on there with a more mature relationship, and that's cool stuff. It's good stuff. So if I were to reframe that, though, and hope for it, here's a point that I want to make that I learned actually doing this show. Somebody helped me understand that when kids turn into teenagers, right? And I want you guys to think about this. So blow that out. Let's change the word to hope. And it's really important that when kids are beginning to become teenagers, they're individualizing, they're moving out, they're becoming more independent, and they want to find their way. Okay. We make a mistake, though, from like not communicating that the love is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Like touching and hugging and being playful with your teenage kid is really important, because teenagers kind of don't think about it, but begin to experience, wait a minute, I'm not touched as much. I'm not hugged as much. I don't, this is different. And they don't give a crap anymore. Like, it's so not true. And so when you continue some of those normal things, I can't wait to hear about the next man grunt David has with his kid, because it's still going to be there. And so the more that you can convey that in the ways that are normal when break comes and the kids come back for holiday and whatnot, they're going to get grounded. They got to go through the pain, so don't do that yet, Mom and Dad. Let them struggle. I've said that a few times because it's hard for us to watch the kids struggle. Let them struggle, but then communicate that love is still there. Does that make sense?
It does.
How do you hope for that, and what does that do in your thoughts?
I don't want to. Well, back when you said, what do I hope for? I want to go back to that before I forget it. I hope that they, I don't know if I'm saying this the right way, but I hope that they trust me in what I'm trying to do and what I have envisioned in my mind, even though I haven't like completely voiced it to them and like told them exactly what I want, like what I'm trying to do and what I am doing. I just hope they trust me, and I hope that it's always good to have, for them to, what's the word?
Support and
Support
care.
you, yeah. It's always good to have support, but it's more of, I just want them to trust me. I want the trust, and it's not like trust me to go out and don't get in trouble. It's the long-term trust, like trust that what I'm doing is gonna. You just gotta, you have to trust.
It's interesting.
Me. It's
How about
very,
if I add a word there? Trust and respect.
Yes, respect is a big thing too. That's a really big thing. But I don't think, for some people, maybe one parent has more respect than the other. In my case, sometimes it feels like it. Not all the time, but that's what it feels like. But the respect that I like, I'm glad you said that, because that is a big thing, especially as we're getting older now. And sometimes like, you need that. It's like you need that from your parents when they don't respect you. I'm just envisioning some things. It sucks. Like, no, like, come on.
It can be painful.
Yeah, it sucks. That's all I have to say.
It is
about
really
that.
hard for parents to let go. And I think that's some of what you got to understand might be going on there, to let go. Like, parents right now across our country have tripped out. I'm telling you right now, tonight, this weekend, they just took their kids this week, and they're freaking out. Trying to cope with the idea that, I have no idea what little Sally is doing this evening.
Yeah.
No clue. Little Johnny might be doing, I have no idea what. And that is a major transition that you have to contend with. So you have to be able to let go, trust what the kid is doing, respect that they are making their own decisions, and hope and pray that it works out.
I have a question. I don't know if it's like, if you don't want to talk about, if it's like too touchy to talk about, but what do you, some parents, they track their kid's phone. They have a tracker. Like, they have Life 360, or they just share locations. Yeah. I see some. I have no problem with it. Like, for certain people, I know they do it. They have it with their parents, and I understand that. I get their relationship, and like, I know why they do it. Like, it's deeper. But some are like still somewhat almost forced to have it on, and their parents are still like. And I'm talking about 20, 22,
20
like,
and up, college,
20-year-olds, like. And they're still, and their
college
parents,
kids.
Yeah, I mean,
you think college kids have?
I know some of these kids,
wow.
and I don't know. I always thought that was kind of like, I never even did that in high school. I remember they wanted me to. I don't think we just never did it. They trusted I told them where I was going most of the time.
Well, it's funny. It's an interesting question and point, and I don't have a definitive yes, do that, or do not put that on there, because that's not the way that it works. But it is hard to let go. And I mean, when we were coming up, it was okay. I'll see you next weekend.
Uh-huh.
Kind of go about your business. And so, but now that has been a little bit of, when it comes to safety, it can be very helpful, particularly when kids are younger and driving and monitoring a lot of those things. And protecting is another word, protecting from the dangers that are out there. I cannot tell you how many sexual things people have gotten into, drug things people have gotten into. I mean, there's a lot of very dangerous things that kids need protection and monitoring from, for sure. However, you begin to become responsible for yourself.
I was about to say, because I feel like that only goes up.
He knows. Anything happens to him at this point, who's it on?
It's on me.
It's on you.
But I feel like there's definitely a point it
Live and
comes.
learn.
Live and learn. I mean, yeah. I'm there to support you. You're on the side of the road. I'll kind of tell you maybe who to call, calm you down a little bit, but, you figure out what do you got to do.
Yeah.
And we got your AAA,
Yeah.
You got to make those phone calls.
Yeah.
Who am I kidding, Neil? I'm like racing down the road to get to the situation. Yeah, I know. Let him go. Okay, I practice what I preach. The audience is getting a real-time reality check. Because this is hard to do, yo.
I can't imagine how this is for you still right now.
It is hard to do, from a parent's perspective. It's easy for me to say, oh, yeah, got to let go and let them live and let them learn. Wait a minute, man. I care about these people. You too, because I've watched you grow up, So have patience with yourselves, have patience with each other, and these are things that, like I love to say in the way that we do the show, we're trying to figure this thing out together. So let's transition a little bit to homesickness. There was a cool article, and I'm glad I just went with their tips on this, and I'm just going to kind of read them through to kind of get some ideas on kind of how to cope, because homesickness is a real thing too. Man, we suck on time. So let me blast through this real quick. Get busy, get out. When you're feeling hurt and homesickness, bring some home comforts with you, kind of remind your kiddos. And maybe you can send them something in the mail. You want to back off and let them struggle, but maybe you pop them a care package. I actually got one from my mom, I remember, and it made a big difference when I was in my dorm room there first year. Keep in touch with them, but not too much. That's what the article said. I've said that a few times today. Here's an interesting one. Stay off of social media. You don't want to see all the pictures of all these happy people and all these things when you're sad and struggling and miss your kid and all those kind of. Just take a break from all of that. Get off of it. Go find new things around you. When you're homesick, find a new shop, find a new coffee place, find a new store. Check out the surroundings. There's some newness and it's fun. Don't compare yourself to other people. Huge dramatic pause, right? Like, you don't have to do it like the other person's doing it. It's okay to find your way. You don't have to follow the prescribed plan. Do something nice for yourself. When you're homesick, just care for yourself a little bit. And then here's a big one. Drum roll, something. Ask for help. A lot of times we need to be able to ask for help, whether it be from your friends. And almost every college campus has therapy services on the campus. Use them. Call them. Exercise and stay busy. So those are some things to deal with homesickness. Do I have time? I do, and it's important enough. I need to spend time with that. So another real big factor with homesickness is, and from my own experience, this is another story for you.
Okay.
I remember being in my dorm, going through the adjustments, managing the changes. Mom just left, like, holy crap. And so weeks and months, and I'm in my classes, and I'm kind of doing all right. I'm getting the groove, and I'm trying to get into the groove of WVU. That's where I went. I'm a proud Mountaineer. So it was probably like 2-3 months in, and I started just losing it. Like, I never thought I would get homesickness. It's the only time that I started feeling those changes. Actually, that's a lie. When we moved to North Carolina for the first time, I went through a little bit of that too. And I had to do the same thing. So I'm building to what happened. And what helped. So I started getting tearful. I remember, I was like freaked out about money. And was like, maybe I could sell my car. Like, I don't know what to do, And I was really, really having a hard time until finally that weekend came. Mom actually came down, scooped me up, and I'll never forget the feeling of driving down a certain hill on the highway, rolling into Wheeling, West Virginia, realizing that, holy crap, Wheeling, West Virginia is still here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right? There's my hometown. Okay, slept a weekend, back in my bed, and, just looked around, and it's like, okay, went back to school, and boom, I started flying. I just needed, and here's the main point, you just needed to reconnect,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can go forward. It's an important psychological piece that when everything changes in your life, you need to reconnect, re-gear, and then you can shoot forward. And actually, the same thing happened when I moved out of West Virginia for the first time, came to North Carolina. Played the song, Chowababonga. You can knock me down and I'll get back up again. And I just went back to West Virginia. And I was like, okay, the state's still here. Got it. It's actually one of the reasons why I blow the horn and blow a kiss to the state sign every time I go through.
Yeah.
Right? That's one of the reasons why, because those are my roots.
Yeah.
So you got to get regrounded with the roots, and then you go forward. Big point about homesickness. All right, what do we want to do in winding up here a little bit? Anxieties in new situations. What do you think about this statement, Miguel? Hope is an antidote for anxiety in new situations.
Oh yeah.
Right?
That's the truth.
How's that sound for a takeaway?
Very accurate.
Yeah.
Right.
Very. You have to have some sort of like. Here, say that again. Just say it one more time.
It's interesting because I actually, when I was doing my show notes, I actually intended to try to type. What was I going to type? I actually typed hope when I meant to type how. So I was going to type in and then brainstorm, how do you cope with anxieties? And I typed the word hope.
Hope. Oh, wow.
Right?
That's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah,
Right?
that's cool.
So and that created in my thinking about being prepared for the show and getting ready, isn't that true? And I thought, my gosh, that is absolutely true. And so here I'll say it again. Hope is an antidote for anxiety in new situations. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Think about, visualize. I saw you do this a little bit. I'm going to get on top of this. I'm going to get there. I'm going to go to where I want to get to. I'm going to make this amount of money or get this job or get this grade in the school or get to this point. Remember that 1, 5, and 10-year plan?
Mm-hmm.
What are you hoping for? What are you dreaming about? Remember, well, you don't remember. High school graduation, they give all these speeches. They talk about all that stuff, man. When you're in an anxiety situation with so many new things, hang on to hope, create hope through what you think about and what you focus on.
You really have to believe that you can do something as well. You really have to believe it, because if you say, all right, yeah, I can do this.
You got to want it.
Yeah, you have to want it, and you have to, even when, sometimes like that motivation, you don't have it anymore. The motivation, like all right, I'm about to get, you have to sometimes you will have to struggle to like, you might not want to get up that day. Like for Aaron, he loves what he's doing, but I know there has to have been a day where he's like, God, like I just want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like that's happened for everybody. But
Absolutely.
You have to believe, you have to hope, you have to have that.
I love how you're adding the word belief. It wasn't in my show notes, and that's why I love doing the show live, because you create together when we're talking. True to the point of, this is the human emotional experience. Let's figure this out together. And dude, your young brain just popped awesomely. Like, you cannot, having hope and having a belief, creating the focus points, creating your vision, creating your dream, engaging what you're doing, taking an action, hope and belief. Absolutely. It's awesome.
It's that, and it kind of goes to like if you believe, you almost, it's like manifesting it pretty much. It's like you have to believe it, because if your mind, like subconsciously or consciously, if you are not thinking like, all right, how do I put it? Like, you just have to believe. You have to believe. There's no other way I can put it. You have to believe that you can do something. You have to get to it.
Just as you said that, the thunderbolt just struck you.
It did. I heard it. Yeah,
it's awesome. It's like boom.
Yeah,
that's a mic drop right there. Right?
Yeah.
It's a mic drop. Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool to I'm just gonna let that be.
Yeah.
When you're also, some other things to add, not to be alone, join an activity when you're college campuses, or for you that didn't go to college, right? Find some activities. It's probably something that, I don't know if both of you are doing or not. I know you're not. it's just some groups and some activities, some meetups, some friends that you can go do activities with.
Yeah.
Like, I've told you, man, you gotta have fun too.
Yeah.
We were talking about this on the way
Remember that?
here,
Were you?
doing sports and stuff. Like
Yeah.
missing
Yeah.
doing sports.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was talking that we were, go outside and play basketball.
Get on a team.
Just do something, or go to the Y. Do some, If
There's
you don't
some
like that, you can go fishing.
Coronavirus notwithstanding, but
Yeah. But or go fish and find something you enjoy and do it. That's something that I've had to figure out too over like the corona, is like when I'm at home, what do I enjoy to do when I'm alone? And I like either working out, going to play basketball, reading a little bit. I've started to actually enjoy reading. That's another thing. I used to not enjoy reading, but I've found out you really have to find something you want to read. If you don't want to read it, you're not going to read it. But in school, they were always shoving something in your face.
Right. The
All
AR
right, read
program.
this.
We
But
struggled with that one, didn't we, Eric?
I made my goal once.
Oh, you did more than that. Believe me, I know you did, but it was tough. Yeah.
oh, you
It
said
did-
AR?
Yeah,
Oh,
accelerated reader
I remember
program.
that. I remember those days.
This was terrible. There's a lot of transition. There's a lot of struggle in those transition, but we need to taxi in and get out of here, guys. It's a difficult time. As much as it's a time of celebration, it's a difficult time because of transition. Keep your eye towards hope and belief.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you picked up a couple strategies or things to think about. You can support your kid, but you've got to let your kid go, and they're going to struggle as they go. So be there when they need to reconnect. These are just some summary views that I'm kind of thinking about, that I think are really important. But it is also time to celebrate and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
You're in college. I can't tell you how cool it is to watch this young man blossom and blow up and go to work and feel excited and a passion about that. And
I've always enjoyed making money. I mean,
and you in realty, that's I guess I just outed you. I should have asked about that, but that's part of what your passion is real estate, right?
Real estate. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm working on it. I'm trying to level up a little bit every day. But I'm definitely one. That's something I'm trying to get into for sure.
All right, so we need to get out of here, guys. We at Through a Therapist's Eyes, though, I started a tradition. I'm going to give you a high five here in a second. We got cameras. So we'll move. Go ahead and move your mics now, and we'll get out of here. But I like to give a high five to people, and what that signifies is being able to kind of celebrate the courageous acts that you've actually done today, and kind of being able to share and courageously talk about your experience, because that's not easy to do, guys. These guys were being launched around the world right now, and I just really appreciate you guys being willing
I want to thank you for having us on.
Yeah,
here.
thank you very much. We're gonna have to do this again.
we'll see in that 10-year plan, man.
Yeah.
Here's a high five. Y'all have a great week.